he saw like another spirit standing next to the bed, and it had a very dark and a very sinister aura or a feel to it that he could sense coming off of this person. And it was standing there next to the bed, looking down at his body as it laid there, and he could feel the desire coming from this being. Hello, readers, writers, and fans of the dark, mysterious, and paranormal. Welcome to another entertaining and exciting episode of The Writing Lair. My name is Brady Longmore. I'm an indie author. I've published 4 books. I'm working on book number 5 and hope to be publishing it pretty soon. If you're new, this is The Writing Lair. Here I like to talk about reading, writing, and scary stories. The dark, the mysterious, the paranormal, ghosts, Bigfoot, UFOs, hauntings, that kind of stuff. So if that sounds interesting to you, and you think, maybe that piques your interest, then we're probably kindred spirits, and you belong down here in the Writing Lair with me. So at this time, I invite you to like and subscribe, and help support a struggling artist. All right, and let's get on with today's episode. So today I wanted to talk about a paranormal phenomenon known as astral projection or out-of-the-body experience. Have you ever heard of that? It gets touched on quite a bit in the paranormal world, but I have a friend of mine. Okay, a friend of mine has. A couple of friends of mine have had experience with this, and so I just kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit and tell you this creepy story. It's pretty creepy, especially the one guy, and we'll get to it here in a second. But, so what is it? Out-of-the-body, OBE, out-of-the-body experience or astral projection. It is basically, to put it simply, it is the act of your spirit leaving the body without dying. It's not the same as a near-death experience. That's different. It's similar, but different. So we can talk about those some other time. But this is you're kind of imagine your body is like a glove, and your spirit is the hand inside the glove. And imagine being able to, at will, it's not always at will, but being able to remove the spirit from the body without dying, without being near death or anything, just with being able to do it through meditation and other means, and be able to observe through spiritual eyes your world around you. It's pretty crazy, right? It's kind of, but I mean, that's where if you didn't have an interest in these things, you wouldn't be here with me right now. But that's what it is. And they say some people can achieve it intentionally, and some people it's unintentional. So a lot of people have reported having out of the body experience through. I know I read once there were people who were prisoners of war, going through immense times of immense suffering and pain, where they suddenly found themselves kind of floating outside of their body, and just for a moment, and it was almost like they could see their own body, but they're floating above or off to the side, and witnessing almost as like a third, almost like from a third point of view, a third person point of view, what's going on. So there's that's an involuntary, accidental leaving of the body. And then there's the intentional, and that's where I think that's where you get the word astral projection. And I'm not an expert in this. I know there's people who are way more knowledgeable about this than me, so I'm just going to touch on it. But so there are people who claim that through meditation, drugs, which it's hard to trust. It's hard to trust the drugs, right? So of course, if you're on drugs, who knows what you're seeing and experiencing. But some people claim that through meditating and stuff right before bedtime, I think they do it a lot, but they're able to kind of pull themselves right out of the physical body and walk around in a room, walk through walls. So that's basically it. Why would you do this? I don't know. It sounds a little creepy to me, but I'm going to tell a couple of stories related to this. And the first one is a guy I know used to play rugby, and he on a semi-professional rugby team. And he's telling me one day he had a long day at work, and then he had rugby practice after work. He's really tired. He's I guess he's in his words, he's never been so exhausted in his life. And he lived in an apartment, and he was on a second story apartment, maybe even a third, but I think it was a second story apartment. And he came home and he was just exhausted, and he said he just remembers dropping his bag on the floor and just falling onto the couch and thinking, I need to sleep like right now. And so he remembers drifting off to sleep, and then there was a feeling like a jolt, and he suddenly he opened his eyes, and he was looking at the ceiling, the ceiling was right in front of his face. And he said he's like, what what's going on? And the ceiling was slowly moving away from him. He realized he was slowly sinking. He's slowly falling, and he felt weightless and strange and tingly all over. And he thought, well, I'm falling, or something's going on here. And he kind of, was like trying to turn around, and he was able to turn around, and he looked, and below him was a man sleeping on an air mattress. He said a big, like a Samoan kind of looking guy. He'd never seen him before in his life. And he's like, this guy just laying on this mattress, and I'm about to land on him. And this is all happening very quickly. He didn't even know what was happening, but when he turned around, saw the guy, he thought, I am out of my body. I have fallen through the floor. I've floated somehow through the floor. I'm seeing the apartment below me. And as soon as he thought that, he felt himself kind of snap back up into his body, and he woke up. And he thought, wow, what a crazy dream. Like, I think anybody would just think they were dreaming, right, if that happened to him. But he said he didn't think much more of it, went back to sleep, and thought he just had a crazy dream. And the next day, he was getting ready to go to work, and he had a truck parked out in front of the apartment complex, and he was just walking out the door, and he's walking out to his truck, and out of the other door or whatever that leads to the apartment complex, out walked the big Samoan guy that had been on the air mattress in the other room, and he had never seen him before. And it turned out his downstairs neighbor had a friend spending, a couple days with him or something, but that just blew him away, because it was the last thing he expected to see was because he thought the big Samoan guy sleeping on the floor had just been a figment of his imagination, that he'd just been dreaming the whole time. Instead, it turned out so this was kind of a confirmation to him that, wow, I just saw I really did have an out of the body experience. So it must have been triggered, caused by that moment, that extreme fatigue. Maybe my theory is maybe there are certain things in place that holding the spirit to the body, and is it possible we can become so tired or fatigued we can just kind of detach, even involuntarily, just kind of detach a little bit from that. But anyway, which brings me to story number 2, which is a little creepier. So this is a guy. Now I don't know this guy personally. So this is a story. A friend of mine used to work with this guy. So this is secondhand, but he said this guy claimed he's at work, and he would tell his coworkers and friends. He claimed he could at will leave his body with just a certain amount of meditation. He claimed he did it at work. He's like, it's like I can just sit in a chair and close my eyes, meditate, think just the right way. And he said he's always been able to do it. He discovered he could do it when he was a kid. And he said that he could just and he just did it for fun. It was just interesting to do. And he said that he could leave the body, and he said there was this umbilical cord, like a silvery, winding kind of little, said it was kind of glowing and silver cord that connected his body to the body, or his spirit to his body. And he'd never dared leave the presence of his own body. He was always afraid that he would come back and it would be, there would be a problem. He had the feeling, he always said, I had a feeling that if that cord ever got severed, I would never be able to return to my body. And so, excuse me, that is my furnace. It is wintertime. We received like half a foot of snow today. So the furnace is going to run down here in the writing lair. But anyway, he said he always had this feeling that if that cord were to be severed, that he would not be able to find his way back to his body, or be able to go back in. So and then also he never left the presence of his own body. So he would leave the body. He said he'd do it at work and just kind of walk around, and just he could float through walls. That sounds pretty cool. He said he did it one time. This is an interesting aspect to it. He said he did it one time when he was a kid at some kind of scout camp or some kind of camp where a bunch of kids were sleeping on cots and stuff in like a cabin, like a lodge of some kind. And he said it was the middle of the night and everyone was asleep. And he said he left his body, and what he noticed is everyone was asleep, and he could see their spirits floating just a few inches out of their bodies. And he said, well, he's always noticed that, not just this time, but ever since then. He said when people are sleeping, you can see their spirit just a couple of inches out of the body, which is really crazy, right? So I'm like, oh, so when we're asleep, maybe maybe we detach a little bit. Maybe those moorings that hold the spirit to the body or relax just a little bit. We enter that dream state. I don't know. Kind of cool, kind of crazy. But anyway, he used to do this at home at work, and then he said that he had to stop doing it. He quit doing it altogether because one time he dared to leave the presence of his own body, and he was at his own home. He was in his bedroom, and I think he was alone, I don't know if this guy was married or anything, but this is just the story that was told to me. He left his body laying on the bed, and he got up and walked out of, decided to have the courage to leave the presence of his body finally. And so he floated through a wall and down the hallway or whatever, and just kind of played around with this experience a little bit. And then he decided, he got kind of nervous and decided to return. Well, when he came back into the room, he saw this. What's the word? Like a personage. He saw like another spirit standing next to the bed, and it had a very dark and a very sinister aura or a feel to it that he could sense coming off of this person. And it was standing there next to the bed, looking down at his body as it laid there, and he could feel the desire coming from this being, that it wanted to take his body. It wanted to go in and take over the body. And this terrified him. And he just willed himself back into his body, and woke up from. He said you're usually in kind of a trance-like state. He willed himself back into the body, woke up from it, and he was so scared. He looked around the room, and even back in the body, he could feel the presence of this being, of this personage that had approached him. And he goes, it took it. He had to leave the house, and it took him a while to shake the feeling of being accompanied, like it was following him, it was with him. And he was, scared for a long time. But he couldn't shake the feeling for quite a while. And he promised himself, never again. I'm never leaving my body, again because of this. Because he thought, he had the feeling that if he would have gone any further or done it again, or that he was just moments away from losing control of his own body, that this being was about to jump in. This whatever it was, this demon, in my mind, some kind of demon, evil spirit, saw a chance. Hey, here's an unoccupied space. Here, I think I can jump right in there, take control, grab a hold of the steering wheel. Kind of creepy to think about. So because of that story creeps me right the heck out. Okay, I find that extremely terrifying, and I plan on my spirit leaving my body once, and that's it. And hopefully I'm kicking and screaming the whole way, but I would never recommend that someone purposely seek out a way to accomplish this or to experiment doing this. I would never recommend that to somebody. I think it's could be extremely dangerous, and it could be you could be opening a door that you wish you'd never opened and you'd never be able to shut. So that is my own personal advice when it comes to this stuff. I am interested in it. I do find it fascinating. It makes me think all kinds of questions about the nature of existence and our mind, body, and spirit, and how they connect, and that kind of stuff. And so it is interesting, and the idea that the spirit leaves the body, and that he was able to see some other being on the other side, of the veil, or in another dimension or whatever. That's just nope. that's a big no come from me. So, interestingly enough, I was interested enough I did write about this a little bit. If you've read my first novel, The Summoning, that's a paranormal thriller horror novel. I did have a part in that book where the main antagonist actually utilizes astral projection to take over a body and uses it to commit a murder so that he can get away with murder. Anyway, you'll have to read the book to find out, if he gets away with it and if he's able to, or how he does it. So, but yeah, I did include a little bit of this phenomenon in my first book, The Summoning, and the subject does kind of interest me. The book I'm writing right now has a little bit of that in it, not in the same way, but anyway. Speaking of the book I'm writing right about now, quick update. It's about time to wrap this up. But anyway, I hope y'all had a Merry Christmas, and I hope that we all, I'm looking forward to the next year. We're coming up on New Year's, and I wish you all a happy New Year, and here's to good fortune to come. Update on what's going on with me. It has been busy. It's been a while since I actually posted a video. Christmas and kids, and it just got really busy and shorthanded at work. So I've been working a lot at the day job, and so been very busy. And but I have been working on the next book, and I'm up to 170,000 words in the manuscript, and I think I'm just about done. So you guys are probably getting tired of hearing that, but I am truly writing like the final few chapters. In my mind, I have 3, 4, maybe 5 chapters max left to write. Been doing a lot of revisions and changes. So the good news is when I do finish writing the first draft, there shouldn't be a lot of work to do to get it ready for publication. So it won't be like, hey, I'm done writing it, and now it's going to be another 6 months of revisions and rewriting, and that shouldn't be the case with this one. So I kind of like to edit as I go. A lot of times I'll write several chapters, and then a lot of times I'll go back to chapter 1 and read the whole thing through. It helps keep me connected to the book. It helps me find where I went off on tangents, and I'm kind of editing along, so I'm doing several edits as I'm writing. So that's kind of my process. So anyway, let's see, I'm running up over 20 minutes now. So anyway, guys, I guess that's going to do it for today. Appreciate all the support, and I appreciate all the encouragement I've been getting from everyone. I get lots of questions on Facebook and emails, and I do appreciate the follows on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and people asking about how things are going. And I've been having some good success lately with the Fifth Corner series. I've been making some good sales, so I'm excited about that. Anyway, appreciate you tuning in and joining me for this episode. If you liked today's episode and you think this was something you enjoy, I hope to continue to provide interesting and creepy content as much as possible. So do me a favor and like the video and subscribe to my channel. Help out a starving artist. And until we meet again, I wish you all happy reading.